Hello, Tirzah,
Hi, Carolyn.
and welcome everybody to the Mystic Tree of Life. I was just telling Tirzah before we began the course that I am exceptionally excited about this class because of what I have taught in my own years of teaching. And the Tree of Life, I've seen it everywhere, including in our bio-spiritual ecology. We are the Tree of Life. I mean, we literally are. And I think that was for me one of the most profound mystical experiences of my life. When I was trying to write Energy Anatomy, which I never wrote, it became Anatomy of the Spirit. But I blanked because I'd recorded Energy Anatomy. And once something's out of me, it's out. And so I was repeating myself and going nowhere. And truly, I got sick. I had a sinus infection. I had to ask for an extension on my book contract. I thought I would never get it done. And then I was teaching in Norm's with Norm Shealy. And I looked at this blank board and I was going to draw the chakras and just go through the chakras, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden I had a download, just like I sometimes do. What Teresa of Avila would call like that direct knowing. It just went boom. And I looked, and it's very difficult to describe what a true inner vision is, because I'm looking at a blank page, but all of a sudden in my inner self, I saw the Tree of Life over the chakras and the sacraments and etc., the seven mansions of Teresa. And I just realized everything is modeled on the Tree of Life that is in us. Everything. Our bio-spiritual ecology is modeled on this. And what it's like I jumped into the soul in that moment. And I saw the qualities of us, of our soul, that were essential to a bountiful, healthy, benevolent life. That it wasn't enough what you know, it's what you are willing to release and develop. And that's the graces of the Tree of Life.
Wow. I've never heard that story. That's incredible.
Yeah, that's
What, a,
how it was born, Tirzah.
what an
Because
introduction.
and from that point on, I have the Tree of Life all over my house. I mean,
Yeah.
and because it is the Tree of Life. and and really and sometimes, when I do readings on people, I would think, what branch are they missing? What quality of soul have they not opened up? And
That's it.
are they even capable of getting that? Because it goes right down to the roots of who they are and what resources the earth will support, what
That's
resources the celestial world will support. People don't understand how the invisible world works with every breath of us. Anyway,
okay.
all right. So the first, you see why I'm excited about this class. What is the name of your God? And have you heard from her lately? What a great way to begin. I'm just going to turn it over to you, and I will see you at the end.
That's great. Mwah. We'll see you soon. Hello, everybody. Thank you for that wonderful, warm welcome. And welcome to each and every one of you who on this journey who are beaming in, whether you're live, whether you're asynchronous on your own time. I'm excited to have you present from all parts of the world. Wherever you are tuning in from on this day, whether in real time or asynchronously, you have arrived in body and in consciousness to tap ancient wells of wisdom. As Carolyn just said, this is deep wisdom. This is a universal energetic template that we're going to be studying. We're going to be opening to unseen dimensions where beings of light can reach you with reparative answers, with reparative healing power. And I have, what can I say? I have deep faith in this work and in this format, even though we're zooming in on this magical cyber technology. that every one of us, every single one of us who comes with an earnest heart will receive exactly what they need, what we need. So all of us today, I need to say this, all of us are sharing in the unfolding news on planet Earth. We share in the cascade of crises and war that are befalling us. We're also sharing in awe-inspiring goodness and moral effort. So however you are personally touched by life's news, by this world's news, by the larger events, may our work together, I just want to set this intention for all of us. May this course and our synergistic journey, our work together, inspire each of our authentic and undaunted goodness to fly free. And in so doing, may we together and each of us individually move the needle, move our collective plight, move our collective evolution toward healing, toward justice. Now, would you have two things available to you? First, have a journal or a notebook or some way to scribble. Hopefully you'll keep it because you'll need to refer, or you'll want to refer back to it. Because there's a progression to this course. So have your journal handy. We're going to be using it in this module. And would you also have a glass of water? Plain water is best. Cup of tea is fine. Any beverage that refreshes you. And that's extremely beneficial. Did you know that sipping counteracts alarm and fear and anxiety in the nervous system? Just sipping on, let's do it right now, sipping. When we do that, we are relaxing our animal body, our nervous system, because our course deals with things, phenomena like history and family and powerful conditions like trauma and historical ruptures that can ignite, even with our not knowing it, just anxiety in the nervous system and a sense of clutch. And sipping is curative. It keeps flushing and calming our system. Okay, so our culture, I need to say this too, our culture teaches us to avoid painful topics and go for fast relief, right? To bypass. Let's not talk about this. That's too heavy, or that's not gonna help us. That's not useful. Our culture tells us not to feel grief and not to feel the pain that's associated with hard histories. That's the residuals of our own traumas as well. So in the work of ancestral healing, which is really what we're doing together, we're also studying Kabbalah and Jewish mysticism. We're studying Tarot. We're doing a lot of things here. We're pulling together an amazing syncretism. But we're here to do deep healing. And to do deep healing, ancestral healing, we need to face and feel. Just those two simple words. We need to face and feel what comes up for us so we can metabolize it, whatever comes up. I call it the heavy metals that arise for us, that we bonk into when we start to think about what our ancestors went through, what we've gone through, what happened to us. And in this sense, ancestral healing is nothing short of alchemical. We're here to transform, to transmute those heavy metals into usable wisdom. We're here to transform wounds into wisdom and turn them into something that we can work with to help ourselves and those around us and to help ignite the world, like we just said, toward goodness. So the work requires continuous self-care to do that, because we are alchemists. We're in the alchemical lab. And so we have to keep caring for ourselves. And that is going to be a thread that runs through all the pearls and all the nuggets in this course, self-care. We tend our bodies, we tend our nervous systems, particularly now that the news is so upsetting. Maybe it's always been upsetting, but I feel in my ripe old age that it has never quite been like this. So, speaking of self-care and self-attunement, let's do that right now, if that's okay with you. Let's attune to the Kabbalistic understanding that, like trees, we humans are bridges. We're here to bridge heaven and earth. And like the mystical tree of life, we are deeply rooted in the here and now, in this moment, in this particular situation that we're all sharing. We're rooted into Mother Earth, who is our friend, our host, our companion, our lover. She is our mother. And so let's just for a moment be trees, be those trees. Being with things just as they are. I heard recently that's a wonderful definition of meditation, just being with things as they are, not attempting or efforting to change, and not moving or racing or planning or working to change things, to alter reality for this moment, just being rooted like trees in what is. So wherever you are right now, would you lean back into your seat? You could do this lying down as well, but I think better vertically. Feel your bottom half. Feel the bottom of your spine, your sacrum and tailbone. You can imagine that it is continuing from your tailbone on down through your seat, through the foundation of the room that you sit in, the building that you sit in right now, through the bottoms of your soles, the soles of your feet, that you are extending energetically your taproot down, down, down into Mother Earth, 20 feet down, 30, 40, 50 feet down, and that she welcomes you. She wants you here. She brought you here into life at this time. And she is pulsing with nourishment for you and for each one of us, healing us and bringing us all kinds of nutrients and nourishment. So breathing, setting down your roots, grounding yourself, earthing yourself, feeling the welcome into this here and now moment together. And at the same time, we're going to do dual consciousness here, another Kabbalistic idea found in many traditions, but certainly Kabbalistic, that each one of us has potent antennae that reach upward into the unseen dimensions, unseen worlds, into vast cosmic spaces. And you feel this upward pull, this gorgeous starlit pull toward the unseen ancestral realms and the worlds above and beyond us. And you can feel the creative tension, right? We're rooted in this sensual moment and we're connected to the unfathomable. So just you can feel the yes above, the yes below. And that is what we're going to be plumbing with all the chakras in between. So take a breath, close your eyes if you would, and just imagine now a little skylight opening at the crown of your head. You can even touch yourself there at the crown of your head. A little trapdoor opens. Just imagine with me letting in a beautiful shaft of pure starlight. Imagine breathing in, saying yes to that opening, saying yes to that gentle river of light streaming down, filling you, energizing you, restoring you. Imagine it just filling all the spaces in the silhouette of your body, of your tree. And breathe at your own pace. Breathe in this stream of light all the way down to your feet. With a light and life streaming through us now, we call upon the great ineffable mystery that called us together into this world at this time. Each one of us are here at this time specifically for a reason, called by the great creative intelligence of which we are all a part. Holy One, we humbly face you now, today, here. We thank you for our lives. We open to your wisdom. We ask that you shine your light on us and through us as we embark upon this journey of healing. We ask that you assist in the great tide of transformation that we're living through. Let us be agents of healing. Let us be agents of change. Let us be bridges between heaven and earth, delivering the goods. And with the light open and streaming through us now, we ask the sages and holy beings, the shamans, the curanderas, the medicine people, the wise and well ancestors, teachers and guides from the other side, all the elders and guardians of all our respective lineages. Please, please be present with us. We open to you. Assist us, accompany us, bless our work. Help us heal, protect us from any discordant, distracting energies, the cynicism of our culture, the no of our culture. Help us stay focused so that we can do the deep work of healing ourselves, our families, our world. I'm going to sing an ancient maxim. L'shem yichud kutshal brichu u'shachinte b'tchilu urchimu li'achet shem yud he bevav he b'chuda shalem b'shem kol beit Yisroel. Amen. For the sake of the unification of all the broken pieces, fragments of a whole, we join together to embark on this journey in awe and in love, for the sake of all humankind, for the sake of all creatures everywhere, for the sake of life, for the sake of all who wrestle with the truth, struggle for freedom, who yearn to heal. I kindle this candle now for all of us, representing our journey and the luminous, undying spirit that lives in each one of us. Amen. Amen. Please, would you take a moment right now, open your eyes, take a little stretch. I want you to consider your deepest yearning for this journey, your intention. We call that kavanah, your focus. What is your focus? Take a moment right now and scribble something in your journal, on your tablet, on the back of an envelope. It doesn't matter, but it's important. It's really important. We're going to be referring back to this intention. Now, you may say, oh, everyone will do this, but I'm not going to do this. Please don't skip this, because the more particular we get, the better. The better we can be answered by the forces that we're calling into power. We're calling by our sides. The question is, what are you seeking to get out of this journey? What's the area of your life that you're asking to heal? So is it your personal past? Is it your family blockages or lack of healing? Perhaps you have a child a grandchild or a relative or a friend who is in deep trouble. Perhaps you want to know how you can be an agent of change and blessing. Write down your prayer, write down your kavanah now. And as you do that, I'm going to go on, because module 1 is just a ridiculous plethora of information, and I want to get through a bunch of stuff. I hope that you'll listen to the recording of this afterwards, because you're going to get lots of material here. I'm going to be presenting material from the mystical tradition that is thousands of years old, known as Kabbalah, which means receiving. It means receiving. Now, that's a very feminine principle word, but Kabbalah has historically been transmitted from male teacher to male student for thousands of years, from grandfathers to fathers, fathers to sons, male teacher to male student, disciple to male circle, etc. And that is the ostensible transmission. That's the exoteric level. But please know that there has always been a feminine transmission as well, a feminine Kabbalah as well, amongst women mystics and healers, and also men who understood that Kabbalah is inherently non-hierarchical, inherently about the full body experience, the nervous system experience of receiving a transmission. We'll talk about where you can read more about that in a moment. The word receiving, Kabbalah, implies being bestowed. It means being nourished, given to from the sacred source. Now, we're going to be dealing with a very embodied Kabbalah, that because we're going to be working with our bodies. And it will be in conversation with the less ancient, but still very old system, stemming from the 1400s and then picked up again in the 1700s, mostly in Italy, and then around the world, this old system of divination called the Tarot. All of it is for the sake of ancestral healing and healing of ourselves. So this may be your maiden voyage into this work, into the work of ancestral healing. You may be a long-time student. I know I have veteran students here. Likewise, this may be your first taste of Kabbalah, of Jewish mysticism. And also, I know there are seasoned scholars here who have been studying with me and many teachers. There are rabbis here on the journey. Wherever you are starting from, please rest assured you are in the right place. This is not a beginner's course, but beginners can take it because it's very, very fluid. Ancestral healing is a phenomenon that is timeless. It flows backwards, retroactively healing those who came before us, and forward to the souls who are yet to be born. Let's dive in, okay? Have your journal ready, have your water ready, and please jot down as we go any comments, ugh, wow, aha, insights, questions. You'll need them for later. Okay, Vince, we're ready to go. Let's go to that first slide. Go back. Okay, so like we said, Kabbalah means receiving. It's the expanded and expanding, evolving, and always evolving body of Jewish mystical teachings, but literally it means receiving, as in tradition. I receive tradition. I receive a transmission, a divine message. You will be receiving. You will be a Kabbalist in that sense, in this course. And the healing instrument that's used in Kabbalah is, next slide, the tree of life. As we've been saying, and the tree of life beckons us, as we say in scripture, Bacharta b'chaim, it beckons us to choose life and things that are life-giving. And that comes from Deuteronomy. We can go chapter and verse. I'd love to do that. But more importantly, let's go to the next slide and do chapter and verse here, because And I wonder, Vince, can you make that big? Because people don't need to see me, but they might need to. There, that's great. Thank you. So the tree of life is called the Eitz Chaim in Hebrew. And even if you're not Jewish, and even if you're not Christian, and even if you don't care a hoot about either one of those relatively ancient traditions, you have probably, many of us have grown up in the West. That means we're deeply influenced by the Judeo-Christian culture and the mythology. The Garden of Eden, remember Adam and Eve and the snake and all that stuff. You may not even know the story, but you are influenced by the matrix, by the culture in which you grew up if you live in the West. And in our culture, we're going back, pulling the thread to the very culture in Genesis that wrote down that God gave us the divine power, life, the totality of consciousness, evolved a garden that it was gorgeous and had everything. And that was our origin. And God grew out of the earth all trees, pleasant to the sight and good for nourishment. And the tree of life was in the middle of the garden. Okay, I want to just say, I'm a Jungian. We're going to be looking at things from an archetypal standpoint. What does that really mean? It means that in the middle of the garden, at the center of our psyche, each one of us has a tree of life, has that axis mundi, the axis of the world, the axis of our world, which is our, as we're going to see, a Kundalini channel. It's the Sushumna. It's called the world tree. It's called the world pole. It's called many things in many cultures. But what's important to remember is that in the middle, that we are the garden. Our life is a garden. Our psyche is a garden. And at its center, there is something at the center of us that connects heaven and earth. That is my spine. That is my interior purpose, we could say. And so let's remember that is each of us. It's not some garden literally outside here or outside in heaven or anything like that. It's talking about us and our psyche. And then, amazingly, as if an afterthought, a mere PS, Scripture tells us, oh yeah, next slide. And there's also a tree of knowledge of good and evil. Wow. What? There's a tree of life and there's a tree of knowledge of good and evil. Is that one and the same? Is the tree of life the tree of good and evil? Are they two different things? We have a feeling that the tree of life, the tree of knowledge of good and evil is about duality. Back to me, Vince. Thank you. And the tree of duality is so characteristic of this life, isn't it? In which we have good and evil, and we have hot and cold, and we have on and off, and we have yes and no, and we have up and down, and it's so confusing. We constantly have to make choices. We have to make decisions, left or right. There's always forks in the road. What do I do? Which is the right way to go? And it's so easy to go wrong. And that's why the Kabbalists call this world, and the Hasidic masters call this world Olam Hafrada. You don't have to know remember that term, but it's Olam Hafrada is the world of separation. This world of duality here is a world of separation in which spirit isn't necessarily right here. The Kabbalists say that spirit is hiding in the world, is playing hide and seek with us all the time. But consistently, with all the choices we must make on the path, the tree of life keeps calling us back to our center. Go back to center. Go back to that thing that we came from, our essence, at the center of us, at the center of the garden. Okay, so that's the background from Judeo-Christian scripture, from what I call the Elder Testament. And in terms of Kabbalah, there are many, many versions And I know you have your own if you've been studying this, but let me show you a few. And please don't worry, don't get overwhelmed. All of this will get clear. It's just for fun and for beauty. Just enjoy the variety. Okay, so here is a colorful, complex version. Notice in all of the pictures that I'm going to show you right now, there are 3 vertical flows. We call them 3 columns or pillars of the tree. There's a right one, the left one, and a center one. And I call this system a system of trialectics, because we're constantly balancing between the right and the left, aiming for that center pillar. Okay, next one. Here's a one by the artist in Sfat, David Friedman. You can see that this also has a right and left blue and red pillar on top, and then underground is where all the action happens. Next one. Here's the blank tree that you are going to receive in your, you'll get this link after class, after the first module, to fill in on your own. And you see that this is a template that you'll chart things on. You see that this is an ancient chakra system. We're going to focus on the central pillar and look to see right and left. On the right, there is the pillar or flow called expansion. On the left, contraction. And we'll see it better on the next slide. Here we have it in our bodies. Now this is us. And we're facing in, straight on. And we see that there are 3 circles, or we call them spheres or sephirot, on the right, and 3 on the left. They do correspond with right brain, right arm, right hip and leg, left brain, left arm and shoulder, left leg and hip. We also have, go back. And then the middle pillar, you see, are the chakras that we're aiming to open. And notice that at the very top is crown. And the crown is actually not even on the map. It's above us. So this is our nervous system. We are the tree, as Carolyn said. And these circles are like energy wheels or chakras that we'll be working with to balance and heal. And here's another, because this corresponds to so many systems. Let's look at one you might be more familiar with. Let's try this one. Okay, so here's a yogi. Now watch carefully as the central line flowers. I love this graphic. It's wonderful. We start at the base. We say that there is a sleeping snake coiled at our tailbone, coiled at our sacral chakra. And when we call it alive, we open up that central passageway called the Sushumna in yogic philosophy. Notice that there is Ida and Pingala, the right and the left, also very, very similar, right? Okay, we are going to be opening that trap door at the crown of our head, hopefully blossoming our consciousness like this yogi. Back to me. Let's take a breath and a sip of water, l'chaim, and touch base. Again, we're going to be doing this, touching base constantly. Make sure that our heads aren't swimming. Please jot down any questions you might have, and let's reground ourselves. Roots below and roots above. Take a breath, a stretch, whatever you need. Really take care of yourself. And as you do, let me tell you a little bit about how this course is going to be organized. Okay, next slide. Each class will contain the following elements. First, and we've already done a grounding every module, an embodiment meditation. We will always do an invocation. That is what I do as a rabbi, and it really helps to align us. Teachings from the ancient Kabbalah and the Tarot images, which are archetypal. Tree of Life teachings for personal, family, and ancestral healing. And then every module, you will have a guided ritual practice in which we enter the unseen dimensions. And that, I want you to have your journal handy, please, so that you can take notes. These are very important meditations where our ego self can rest and other things happen because we start to enter into the imaginal realm. And then once we jot things down in our journal, Caroline will rejoin us for your questions. And we have the last few minutes where we hear from you and we have a good time. Okay, next. We're going to be using different books. Now, these first two books are my own. The one on the right, The Receiving, is the book that I wrote, it's a long time ago, 20 years ago, about Jewish women mystics, about the feminine principle, Kabbalah. It's for men and women, for any identity, gender identity. It's really about the esoteric Kabbalah and how it fits into the body, and also a lot of Kabbalistic history that has never been recorded because mostly the male tradition has been chronicled more than the feminine. And Wounds into Wisdom, much more recent, just came out in 2022 in paperback with a study guide in it that's all about intergenerational healing. Let me just say, you may not be interested in Kabbalah in this course. That's okay. Forget it. Focus on ancestral healing. Or, next slide, you may be interested more in Tarot. In that case, I would highly recommend Sally Nichols' book, Jung in Tarot, An Archetypal Journey, in which she goes into depths about the major arcana, the 22 major arcana stations. And if you're interested more in Kabbalah, I highly recommend Danny Matt's The Essential Kabbalah, in which he edits together and translates some of the seminal Kabbalistic teachings in English, and it's all annotated. Okay, so my request for you is that you take care of yourself. What are you interested in? There's going to be a lot of information here. Some of it you'll just shrug off. You won't necessarily pay that much concerted attention to, and other things you will really are more, you'll be more focused on and will enrich you a lot. Okay. I do want to mention that we will be, I forgot to say, because we have questions and comments every week on the community page that you'll get, that you'll find on the website. We have a wonderful helper, Cerise Schachter, who's going to be, I think she's already introduced herself, and she's in the background next to me from Ashland, Oregon. Very helpful and knowledgeable and closely connected to me as issues arise. So make the course work for you. Okay, also, next slide, we are going to be using the Rider-Waite deck. And this deck is classic. I've been using it for so long, and there are many, many decks. You do not have to use this deck. You do not have to have a Tarot deck to do this course. You may not even be interested in Tarot, but it'll be fun to really study the images, which are so powerful. Okay, next slide. And to do our healing work, we will also be mapping our own family trees onto the Tree of Life, looking at our family traditions and legacies, exploring where those legacies have come down to us. Are they life-giving? Are they not life-giving? Do we want to discard things? Do we want to sort of pull and harvest things that are really resources for us? That's what we're going to be. You don't have to map your family tree unless you want to. You certainly can. But we are going to be doing a lot of guided meditations about what we've inherited, what landed in us, both consciously and unconsciously. Okay? Okay, let's go on. I want you to notice once again the 3 vertical rows, imagining that this is you. You're looking forward. The right is the flow of expansion, that pillar or flow current on your right. On your left, the flow or column that's more contracted. And once again, notice that chakra or sephirah on the top, that's called crown. It's above your head because it's beyond your personal self. It's the part of you that reaches into the transpersonal unseen zones. And just like we opened our little trap door, our skylight earlier, we're going to focus on this space right now and our connection to it, because this is how I facetiously said, who is your God and have you heard from her lately? This is where we perceive and experience. This is how we experience the numinous. That's a word I'll be using. I'll get to it in a moment. Next slide. Keter. Keter, it means crown in Hebrew, the top of the tree of life. It's also in Kabbalese called Ratzon, or divine will. It's also our connection to the Ein Sof, or the limitless light. It's our connection to Ayin, or Ayin, same word, the pregnant void, what Buddhists call the Shunyata, what Meister Eckhart calls Nicht, and what St. John of the Cross called Nada. It's the great, it's not nothingness, it's everythingness, but it's nothingness. It's the void that is endless. It's the infinite space from which we draw everything into manifestation. Next slide. Keter is the portal to what Kabbalah and also the Hindu Vedas call the tree of life that has roots in heaven. These are our roots in heaven. You can imagine branches extending beyond us, or antlers. I love that image too, that go up and draw down, just like we draw up from Mother Earth, we draw down from heaven the nutrients, the spiritual nutrients that we need. And I took that name, next slide, for my very first book, which is just got reprinted last week. It just came out last week with a new preface with Roots in Heaven. It's an outrageous, highly disclosive spiritual memoir, but I just wanted to show you that beautiful new cover. And back to me. So I want you to take a moment right now, check in with yourself and with your own experience, and ask yourself this important question. Your experience, your personal experience, not dogma, not what was given to you, not what you were told to believe, your direct spiritual experience of the unseen dimension. You wouldn't be here if you didn't have some inkling, some inclination toward that unseen dimension. What were you given in your family? Through your traditions that speak to Keter, that speak to the crown, the unseen, the numinous realm. This is a very important word. It's the word that we'll be using a lot. Numinous, it comes from Greek pneuma, soma and pneuma. Soma is our embodiment, somatic. Numinous is the presence of the ineffable, the presence of the great mystery, the presence of the unnameable. It's why it's so hard. It's what the Tao Te Ching says, that which can be named is not it. It's always beyond our words because it's pure experience. Sometimes I just call it, some of you know this, who've studied with me before, twig, that which is greater than us, twig. So what connects you to your roots in heaven? What blocks your faith? We'll go to this next slide here. We're going to take just a moment, journal for a moment about your relationship to the numinous. Did your ancestral legacy provide a pathway to the world of spirit? Maybe it blocked your pathway to the world of spirit. Write that down. What mattered to you? What was it that opened the trapdoor in the skylight in your crown, in your Keter, to the numinous? Take a few minutes here to just be quiet and contemplate that. Please do write. Stream of consciousness is fine. It's really just for you. What was it in your background, in your childhood, in your earlier years, that opened the trapdoor to spirit, to the unseen mystery? And maybe that's who was it? What teacher or friend or clergy pointed your way? Remember to breathe as you do this and sip water. We'll come back to this in a little while. If you'd like to continue writing, please do, as we continue the lecture about how this comes to be in Kabbalah. Kabbalah is by nature holistic and embodied. It's about how, let's come back to me for a minute, Vince. Yeah. It's about how the transcendent, the ineffable manifests, takes form in our lives. Who remembers here the term holistic health? Have you ever heard that term from the 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s? Holistic health taught us that there are 4 dimensions to health, and to be truly healthy, you needed to be focusing on all the physical, the emotional, the mental, the spiritual. It taught us that we're multidimensional beings and that we have to see ourselves through in those 4 dimensions. Well, remarkably, Carl Jung, 40 years earlier, said the same thing. He called them personality types or functions. Sensation function, physicality. Our feeling function. Our thinking function. And the intuitive function. And he said that every person normally has a strong suit. We also all have an inferior function. The one we're clumsy at, we just don't get it. Now, Luriana Kabbalah, a kind of the Safad 1500s Kabbalah, understood this deep underlying principle 500 years ago and taught us that there's 4 interpenetrating levels of reality. Let's go to those now. So in mystical Judaism, these 4 levels correspond to the name that you see on top of this Shiviti, on top of this yantra. And that is the Yud, He, Vav, He, the sacred, unpronounceable name, also called the Tetragrammaton. And this is a name that can't be pronounced, but signifies these four interlacing dimensions of reality. Next slide. When we write these four powerful Hebrew letters vertically, we find it strangely taking the shape of a vertical human standing being, right? That's us again. And here we see our human form interposed with these four sacred letters and our four interpenetrating dimensions. So physical, the lower He, if you know that lower letter is our legs and our pelvic girdle. The emotional long letter is Vav. Our mental capacity is our upper shoulder girdle and arms and heart. And the upper Yud is the universe, the crown, the twig, that which is greater than us. So one Kabbalistic meditation is to mentally put these letters into our bodies. As we're seated, as we're standing, you can do it lying down. We're not going to do this because not all of us know the Hebrew letters that well, but this is just an idea of one of the deep Kabbalistic meditations to allow our physical forms to incorporate and embody the divinity, the divine power. And each of these letters are so very powerful. Okay, I'm about to give you a bunch of stuff. Don't get into your head about it. I just want to show you for the nerds among us. Next slide. Okay, so there's four letters for our four segments of our body, of our tree. The lower one correlates to a suit of tarot, for those who are interested, and it's called the world of action. The middle letter, or the long letter, correlates to cups and emotion. The upper He, the upper shoulder area, correlates to swords. It's the world of mind. And Atzilut, the world, the Kabbalistic world of oneness, correlates to wands. You are going to get, next slide. Here it is in another form, same thing that I just said. And next slide, you're going to get this chart that will really just make you cross-eyed. The four worlds, the four vibrations, the Jungian functions, the element, fire, air, water, earth, and the tarot suit. So you'll get that handed out to you. Next slide. And there you see, we're now taking us into the minor arcana, which isn't going to be our focus in this course, but I couldn't resist. We have these four aces, which are the beginning of each suit of the minor arcana. And there are 56 cards in the minor arcana. The ace, let's take a look at this right now because it's really beautiful. Look at the Ace of Pentacles. That is the Pentacles, it's manifestation, it's asiyah, it's the lower He, it's the sensation function. And this is where we manifest money, we manifest health, if we're artisans, this is very important to us. If we're musicians, we do things with our hands. This is my inferior function. I'm terrible at mechanics and terrible at rhythm and those sorts of things that are all about physicality. And when I do something, because it's my inferior function, and we each have an inferior function, Jung says the inferior function, paradoxically, is what leads us to our wholeness, to our individuated selves. Look how beautiful that is. So it's a hand coming out of heaven, and the hand coming out of heaven at the Ace of Cups. This is our feeling function. And you see this beautiful, there's a Christian symbol of the dove and the wafer but what I want you to more notice is the overflowing goblet. This is the overflowing of feelings. That is a gift. If you have feelings that can overflow, that you can cry easily, laugh easily, grieve easily, get angry and let it come through you, that is a tremendous gift. That's the cups. Swords is our ability to cut through, to slice through, to be incisive. You see the crown there. And the idea here is that there is a bridging that happens, heaven and earth. When you hear a great thinker, when you hear great wisdom, it is like slicing through. And notice that there are 6 little droplets. Those of you who are Hebrew scholars, those are yuds. Those are, yud is the hand of God, or the crown in the Tetragrammaton. Don't worry about that if you're not into Hebrew. And the Ace of Wands is fire. It is spirit, is our ability to connect. In this portrayal in the Rider-Waite deck, it is a blossoming wand. It's a wand, it's a stick that's coming to life because we are spiritually connected. Okay, now I'm going to ask you a question. And that question is, next slide. What is your strong suit? Which of those is your strong suit, and which suit needs strengthening? Which might be your inferior function? I don't love that terminology. It kind of makes us feel inferior, but that's the way Jung put it. And get your journal out, and what would you guess? There's no right, well, there probably is a right answer. Let's go back one. Vince, which one is yours? Which one do you is just like, I know all about that. That's my superior function. I have that in spades. I know that. That's my strong suit. By the way, that's where this comes from, strong suit. Tarot. Beautiful. Just take a moment. Just take a moment there. Which of these 4 do you natively occupy? Which is easiest for you? Which expresses your energy, your native energy most easily? So jot that down in your journal. And which one is hard for you? Are you not natively intuitive? Or maybe you are. Or maybe you are. Maybe you're an artist. Maybe you work with clay. Maybe you're mechanically inclined, or you have a great sense of direction. That's Ace of Pentacles. Okay, thank you. Back to me. We're racing a little bit. We're almost at the end where we're going to go into our final meditate, not final, but our ritual meditation. Let's take a breath and take a sip and wiggle our toes and take a sip of water. I want to show you one major arcana tarot card now that is very powerful. At first, I hated this because it's full of Christian iconography that just didn't say it for me. It was so booga booga. But you'll see a big cross and a flag, and it might push buttons, or it might bring, if you're raised as a Christian, it might raise up some, or Jewish, it might raise up some memories for you. But it portrays something very esoteric. So now let's go to the last card, or the last slide. Okay. This is the Judgment card. And you'll notice that there is an angel that's considered to be the angel Gabriel with his trumpet, calling people to life out of their coffins. Okay. I think that's the Judgment Day in Christian belief system, and in Jewish belief system, it's Tchiat HaMeitim, the rising up of the dead. Don't worry about that right now. What I would like, again, in a Jungian interpretation of this card, is for you to notice that there are 3 flows once again. There are 3 flows. There's 3 people. There's more people in the background, but there's 3 major people rising up and going, yes. Okay, there's a woman on the right, there's a man on the left, and then there's a child in the middle. Let's say that this is your higher self. This is your God self who is calling you to wakefulness, who's calling you, the three pillars of your tree to, yes, I want to go farther. I want to evolve. I want to wake up from my slumber. I want to wake up from my deadness, from the places that I've dissociated or from the places that I've become numb. And there is an expansive feminine side. There is a contractive side. And then there's that middle pillar depicted by a child, by the child's energy here. Most importantly is the angel. And forget the trumpet and the cross if that bugs you, or enjoy it if you like it. But just imagine that this is you. This is you. This is your higher self. This is your angelic side who signed up for this journey. The one that is calling you to your highest evolution. And this is a moment, as you hear my voice now, for all of us, that we're invoking the higher powers to be more than we are, to become more healed, to become more awake, more conscious. And we need the grace. We need the grace of the numinous. We need the grace of that which is greater than us to help us. We need the ancestors to help us do just that. Okay, now come back to me and let's take a little stretch. We're going to take a chunk of time right now to go into an experience. So if you need to run to the bathroom, please do that. This would be a moment to take a sip of water, a moment to write down a question, a moment to just come into yourself. And slow down. And know that we've covered a lot of information, but all of it's trickling in its own way. I am going to personally don my invisibility cloak, my prayer shawl, my talit. And if you have a sacred garment that you like to put on, I'm going to share with you just briefly that there is a beautiful teaching in the Zohar, the Book of Splendor from the 1200s. It was published in the 1200s in Castilla, Spain, that teaches us that all through our lives, we are weaving a garment of light for when we leave this life, for when we leave our bodies. Every time we do an act of goodness, of yearning, of light, an act of kindness, a smile, a prayer, an effort, an act of justice, an act of caring, we stitch another stitch of light into that garment, so that by the end of our lives, we are able to pass into a light body and pass into this radiant cloak, we call it, this gossamer garment. And so I'd like you to close your eyes. You can be seated. You can also be lying down right now. Main thing is that you're very comfortable. I'm going to sit down myself. And take a breath and feel your middle trunk, your middle pillar. You may have a prayer shawl that you'd like to don, but don't worry about it, because we're going to all don a visual cloak of light right now that falls over us like a beautiful, silken, angelic light garment. It falls over our heads, it falls over our shoulders in the lightest way. It doesn't bother us. It's porous, but it is protective. It protects us on our journey. So please put that on now. As you breathe and start to relax, I want you to imagine now, and those of you who've studied with me before know exactly where we're going. I want you to bring yourself now to a door, a portal, and your unconscious mind will give you exactly the door that you need today. It may be round, it may be metal, it may be wrought iron, it may be wood, it may be big, it may be small. You are standing, even if your body is lying down, see yourself standing before this door, your door. Notice everything about it. Color, size, shape. Does it have a knocker? Does it have a bell? Breathing and comfortable. Know that this door takes you into the unseen ancestral dimension. So you want to be fully grounded before you knock 3 times. Some of you might find a bell that you want to ring 3 times to let them know that you are coming in. And once you have knocked or rung 3 times, push the door open gently and take 3 steps across the threshold into this space. Now, once you're there, close the door behind you, and I want you to just close your eyes and feel everything. How is this space different? Notice the silence. Notice the stillness. This place is out of time. It is timeless. It's not without concerns. There are many here as well. But here in this ancestral dimension, the work of purifying self continues. But unlike the earth plane where we live normally, there is full recognition here of the numinous, of the great mystery, of the necessity to align with the great plan, not our own plan, a much greater plan. Just feel into this space in your own way. Put out your antennae to notice how this is different here in the ancestral dimension. And when you are ready, standing grounded, fully occupying yourself, notice that there are, with your eyes open now, columns, hallways in front of you. These are long, long hallways lined with your ancestors. The ancestors down one hallway, your paternal lineage, all the way back. And closest to you are the most recently dead. You might recognize some of them. Siblings, father, grandfather, and grandmother on the paternal side. Aunts and uncles on your father's side. You may not recognize anyone. Next to it is a column with all the ancestors from your maternal side, your mother's lineage. All the way back, mostly filled with ancestors whom you have never met. You may, if you were adopted or you were fostered, there may be another column, another hallway of your adoptive family. And many of us may notice that there is another hallway here, another column of spiritual lineage ancestors. And this would include those beings in your Shalshelet Neshamot, which is Kabbalese for the soul chain with whom you incarnate, the cluster of souls, your colleagues, friends, and teachers with whom you came into this life, with whom you are spiritually bonded. And that would include your teachers, mentors, allies, friends who are no longer on this earth plane, but who are very much alive. These beings in the ancestral plane are very much alive. So I want you now, fully grounded and breathing, please invite and receive to your side any wise and well ally or ancestor, known or unknown to you, who is attuned to your personal quest, to your current quest, to the quest, your kavanah, your intention, your yearning for healing that you stated perhaps at the beginning of this module, or anything else. Invite, throw out a mental arrow, a prayer arrow for the beings known or unknown to come to your side now, who want to accompany you, who know something for you, who feel allied with you and want to assist you. Let yourself be surprised by who comes. It may be a friend who has gone before you. It may be a relative. It may be someone you do not know. It could be just a figure, a light-filled figure, a kind, wise, well figure who comes to your side. You do not need to know them. And it could be a historical figure. It could be a biblical patriarch or matriarch. Let yourself be surprised. Even it could be an animal, a wise and well animal who wants to assist you. And it may be more than one being. Please don't let it be a whole crowd, because that will get confusing. You're breathing and you're receiving. If there is someone specific to whom you feel connected on this leg of your journey, please call them by name, by their full name, by their nickname and their full name as well. Call them and see. You're floating an invitation. That's all. They may not be able to come or they may not wish to come, but float the invitation by calling their name. This is a time now for the next moments. I will be quiet. This is a time for Kabbalah, for receiving. I want you to formulate in your heart your deepest prayer, your yearning, your intention in the form of a prayer. Please help me. Start with those words. Please help me heal this, fill in the blank. Please help me know and become this. Please help me do, manifest, understand, repair. Fill in that blank with the words, please help me. And you can whisper it out loud. You can write it down, but with your fullest and most sincere heart, make your request now. And then Kabbalah, just receive and see what happens. Saying or whispering your prayer is very powerful. The power of the breath, combined with emotion and vocalizing, is very powerful. So if you're not too inhibited, please speak your prayer out loud. And then when you're ready, write it down. You're still in the ancestral dimension, but you can grab your journal, open your eyes, and write it down. And write down what is happening, who has come, who wants to help, whether or not you know them. This is a moment when you can write in your journal. When you're ready, and maybe you won't be ready, but I'm going to ask you to seal this meditation with a physical gesture, hand on heart, slight bow, a namaste gesture, some physical gesture that gestures to the ancestors your thanks and your honor. You can whisper a thank you. You can whisper your appreciation. And when you're ready, please now see yourself taking 3 steps back across the threshold of an open door, the door you came into. With your hand, reach out and close the door in front of you, your ancestors and spiritual guides have receded back into their abode as you have receded back into yours. Standing in front of the door for just one moment, collect yourself. Take a breath. Open your eyes. Wiggle your fingers. Rub your hands together. Wiggle your toes. And if you would take a sip of water, come fully back into the room with each other. Thank you so much for that journey and for entrusting me to take you on that journey. I'm going to say that this is the floorboard, so to speak. It's a bad metaphor, but in this case, in which we will build. We will only keep going from this. So you may do it again to clarify it. If it wasn't clear or if nothing happened, you can certainly try it again. And we'll be building on it in module 2. And now I'm so happy to welcome back Caroline.
Oh, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. Of course, I have 1,000 questions for you.
Good.
But I'm going to start with, in your experience, do our ancestors ever reach out to us, or do we always have to reach out to them?
That's a great question. There's a maxim in the ancestral healing that I learned from my teacher, Jill Peirce, that we actually, it helps massively. And in most cases it's like turning on a valve. Mm-hmm. It's like opening a channel to say, I am ready to hear from you. Sometimes we have an intuition that there's somebody kind of pushing on us, like it's an intuition that there's someone there. I'm
sorry, I have to take this. Forgive me.
Yeah.
My alarm's gone off.
Oh, go ahead. But I'll tell the story in the meantime, if that's okay. Years ago, when I just was starting out, I don't even know, I think I was a new rabbi at the time. And I started to think about this cousin of mine who died at 7 years old. We were both 7. We were best friends. And he died very, very suddenly of leukemia. He was diagnosed at 7 years old. He had just had his birthday and died in 3 weeks. And it was a horrible thing. And I started to think about him a lot and feel him and what good friends he was and how wonderful he was. And even back then, years and years ago, I started to say, wow, Nachi, you're there. Like, of course, you're still alive. What would you say to me? And we started a rapport, and the conversation in a sense. And I started journaling with him and writing down what he was saying. And it was like a conversation with God, because this child was a very evolved soul. So yes, it's a wonderful question. Sometimes we have an intuition like that. They start to get something percolates for us, like, oh, this person, this friend who died. We start to think about them, or things fall off the bookshelf that remind us of them. And then it's probably for a good reason. There's some synchronicity that's happening. And we want to continue to open the channel and speak with them. Did you have an intuition today? Did you receive someone? Did somebody step forward to accompany you, to stand next to you? If so, if you just you're in the imaginal realm, that's what happens. So, okay, something has happened for Caroline. Don't worry about that, because we're going to use our last few moments to share what our next steps for how to set up your own practice. And Vince, if you could take me to the next slide, would be great. I would love for you to create intentional time and space to tune in. You can do this daily. Some people love to do it daily. Some people do it before bed or in the morning. A few times a week at least would be really, really good. this is my altar. Please create your own altar. It doesn't have to be fancy. It can be at your windowsill. It could be your favorite chair. It can be under a tree. It could be in a corner where you're sitting on your zafu. That's what I have. Okay, next one. Your family tree is a map. And as we saw before, next slide, you can, if you want, draw a family tree, a multi-generational family tree. That will be helpful. We're going to be talking a lot about, like we did today, what our families bequeath to us, silently, tacitly, or out loud, dogmatically. Here is just a family tree from Barack Obama, which I studied and taught, and I just thought I would bring it. Next slide. And final slide is, we are all about the imaginal realm. I love this quote. I can't say it enough. The imaginal realm is a sphere that is not less real, but more real than our so-called objective reality, whose generative energy can change the course of events. It can help us heal in manifest form. And so we are going to be doing meditations like we just did in the imaginal realm, and you will be surprised. Your ego goes a little bit offline for a while, which is quite refreshing. And you will be surprised by what you receive. Kabbalah. I think Carolyn is back. Let's get Carolyn back. Hi there.
I am so sorry about that.
Great.
So sorry.
It's life, right?
Oh, wow. Wow.
Is everything okay?
Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. I have people downstairs helping get my house in order after the flood, and they tampered with the alarm thing.
Alarm system, yeah. Okay.
So anyway. I'm sorry we don't have a chance to go into the questions on ancestors contacting us, but perhaps we could do that on Thursday.
While you were gone, we talked a little bit about that. Sometimes it does, and it comes through our intuition, right? It comes through, like, we get little, like, jolts of lightning or bonks on the head, or something falls off the shelf at us, and yeah, they want to make contact. But ultimately, it's us. We have to say yes.
I think it's interesting. I mean, I'm incredibly receptive to the other world, Tirzah. I mean, you know that, incredibly receptive. But I've never heard from an ancestor or a relative that's passed on. Never.
Okay.
I've wanted contact with my brother or my father, my grandparent, especially my busha, who I was adored, or my cousin Judy and my cousin, these who were sisters to me. And I'll think, or the man I love so much, Donald, he was killed. All of these, but
you put out a call. Have you called? Have you invited? I mean,
not directly, because I think part of my spiritual landscape is that they're not far from me anyway, and pretty soon I'll be with them. I mean, I don't have this whole sense of, oh no, I mean, when God calls me, God calls me. I don't have a big, huge hub to do about that.
You may not have a big agenda, but sometimes if you really wanted to see, did you call her your busha? You could say, are you there? Are you there? Are you there? Call her by name and just say, step in. If you're there, let me know and tell me something, or let me feel you closer.
Because my inclination, because this is really fascinating to me. It's fascinating because I rely on the invisible world for all my guidance. And
I know.
I rely on close friends for counsel, but the invisible for guidance. And those two are incredibly different forces for me.
Yep.
And
okay.
This Judgment card for me meant a great deal, which we can't go into, unfortunately, right now, but maybe at another time.
I'd love to hear. Let me
say for me, see, I think that one of the reasons I'm excited so much about this course is because you bring a sacred interpretation to the tarot, where it's so commonly done for earthly information in a way that,
Mm.
and it reminds me like the ancient mystery schools of why they had to keep being in a mystery school so secret and keep the knowledge of astrology secret or the knowledge of the celestial world secret. And it was because they knew that if this precious, precious celestial eternal knowledge fell into the hands of ordinary mortals, uninitiated mortals,
Used and misused.
right, it would be turned into financial stuff. It would be turned into how to make a profit. It would be turned into the church. And I didn't say that. You didn't hear me. But it's that this sacred knowledge is so, and it's knowledge. It's not information. It's holy knowledge
That's right.
that breathes. And the reason I love it so much is because when you cross that threshold and you actually get it, you get it with reverence. You don't get it here and you don't look at it like, how can I use this?
Yes.
But you actually
Guys it.
get it.
Yeah.
It's like that's the key. You get it with humble awe.
Yeah.
Then it starts speaking to you.
That's right. That's right.
That's what makes sacred texts sacred. It's power.
It's
And,
living. Yes.
and I saw that also in healing. When I years and years ago, when I tried to figure out the energetic healing and why people weren't healing, why they didn't heal. And they could go to all these, healers and use all these energetic instruments, holy oil, holy this, holy that, holy blah, blah. And I realized that when someone doesn't get it, they can use all of the holy instruments, all the energetic instruments, but all they access is the fragrance of rose oil. But they can't get the essence. It won't convert.
That's right.
Into that vessel of high voltage light that actually packs an impact on healing. It will relax them. You'll get it at the physical level, but it won't knock the darkness out of you.
Yeah.
I tell you, when I got that, it brought me to my knees. That's why I live in a world of awe. I just can't get over how obvious the universe is.
And that's what Carolyn is saying, everybody. I just want you to know she is describing her experience of the numinous. This is the numinous world. And it's very counterculture. Nothing in our few things in our culture point us to this. And that's why it's so important to know what's in our lineages. What have we been given? Have we been given any of this awe? Has anyone or anything in our lineage given us this? And if not, we need to route that out, the things that have made us cynical or poo-pooed it or have the dogma that has blocked us. That's what I want to hear from people also. Maybe you were given, maybe you had grandparents that just knew what Caroline is talking about and gave you that. They were healers or they were holy people. But many of us did not. We had to come upon this. We had to stumble upon it ourselves, like you're describing. So
I credit. I mean, it was no time to go into it, but I just, honest to God, Tirzah, I can sit back for hours in awe, and it's effortless.
That's beautiful. Well, that's why you're our teacher.
Really well, but
so let me just say that our next module, we opened the crown. Our next module, we're going to the bottom of the tree to talk about the divine feminine and her wisdom, which is also a delicious, delightful, wonderful, wonderful thing. And then we're going to start after that going into the sephirah, into this Hebrew chakra system. But our next journey is down to the other pole, if you will, of this tree, of this axis that we are, this tree of life that we are. And thank you for getting it so deeply, Caroline. And
I'm telling you, it's in my soul's cell tissue.
Yeah, so good.
Truly.
Good. A good couple of days, and we hope to see you back, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
you.